This is the final BBC News on the 24th of June 2066, on the day before the EU News Channel will take over all UK news. It is reported that a new EU law will come into force tomorrow, where it will be an offence to criticise the EU in any shape or form. It will be called the EU Citizens' Law. Newspapers are shocked that they are no longer free. This is the day it has been announced that the now empty Houses of Parliament and Buckingham Palace will become museums and are expected to become a huge EU money earner. The entire royal family have now moved to Canada and are being joined by up to 1 million Britons a year, who are complaining that Britain is no longer their country and very few British values are left, due to the massive influx of people from the EU and their refusal to integrate. The EU have responded by saying statements such as this are racist, and as many people are moving to Britain as are leaving, which means the population numbers are stable. This pleases the huge multinational firms who 50 years ago persuaded most of the British workforce to remain in the EU, are now having to employ workers from all over the EU to fill the gaps. Since the UK was split into 9 regions, the Scots, Welsh and Northern Irish have been furious because their own national assemblies were disbanded by the EU, and the 3 countries have now become 5 regions of the EU. The former members of Parliament of the assemblies have no right of appeal against this because the 12-man unelected EU Commission cannot even be contacted, and none of the laws they pass can be changed. The former chiefs of the British Armed Forces say they are totally demoralised due to NATO being disbanded by the EU, and our military now have to take all their orders direct from Brussels. Asked why powerful MPs of the UK and a very powerful Prime Minister would want to give away all that power and prestige that they had up to 2016, only one answer can be found. They wanted an easy life where all the decisions and problems were dealt with in Brussels, but they still collected the same wage. However, it has backfired on them. They now receive a smaller salary, are called Eurocrats, not MPs, and work in an office block instead of the fantastic Houses of Parliament. What a mess they made of it. EU accounts have not been signed off by the auditors for the last 64 years because the EU refuses to do double entry bookkeeping and continues to pay by cash. Stories of bills for all sorts of corrupt deals and jobs being paid for by cash with no receipt or paperwork of any kind have been found to be true. But their whole point of doing it this way is that if it cannot be proved in a court of law, they can continue to get away with it. The mantra of power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely has never been more apt. Workers in the EU were stunned to learn that EU taxes now amount to 85% of their pay, and say that this is almost near the record 97.5% that Harold Wilson's government inflicted on the super rich. But this new 85% rate affects all workers, and they say they feel like slaves.